Good afternoon. Ready to talk numbers? All righty. So here is the thought for today. Know Your Numbers was designed to kind of just give you a brief tour of how I pull statistics from the MLS to help you have conversations with buyers and sellers. I'll show you how to pull your own numbers. I'll show you how to pull the market center's numbers. I'll show you how to pull a town or price points numbers, right? So that you have data to compare and contrast. We'll also jump over into broker metrics to show you how to pull. For those of you who are coming here directly from Ignite, we'll jump over into broker metrics and show you how to pull the broker metrics supply and demand chart, as well as show you the other document that we spoke about this past week, which was a comparison of list price to sale price to list price, I think it was, with properties that had no price reductions versus one or more price reductions. So I'll show you those things in broker metrics. And then we can jump back into the MLS and I will go through and answer any questions about how to pull proper comps for a listing opportunity, because a number of you had asked about that. Does that sound like a good plan? Well, since Amin is the only one with a camera on, I guess I'm talking to Amin. So
yes.
Does that work? Okay, good. Where are the rest of you? Turn your cameras on. Amin and I are lonely. If I would have known that it was just going to be Amin and I would have taken him out to lunch and we could have answered questions over a burger or a salad or something. There they all are. See? When you're all as beautiful as that, how could you not have your cameras on? Man, oh man. We could be like a modeling agency instead of a real estate company. All righty. So let's dive into this. So I'm going to share my screen with you. Oh, I thought I was going to share my screen with you. Hold on a second. I got something going on here. Where is my screen? There she is. Okay. So, John, can you see the MLS?
Yes, indeed.
Okay, thank you. So, I'm going to walk you through first kind of where to pull certain numbers. And that's going to start with your own numbers and then kind of move forward into how you pull the market center's numbers and how you pull town's numbers. And then we'll continue with pulling month supply of inventory, because if you remember in our Ignite session on market conditions graphs, one of those tables was in that certain town, what kind of price points are moving quickly and which are moving slowly. Remember that conversation? And so we'll show you how to pull month supply of inventory as well. All right, so here is the homepage of the MLS. Of course, you want to go into Matrix. Now, do remember, as we're going through this, let me see, let me put my chat back up. I can't see you guys for the most part. So either raise your little Zoom hand and then I'll move you to the top of the screen, which I can see, or put your question in the chat if you have one, or just say Rick in the chat and I'll stop and you can ask your question verbally. So the first piece I want to get to is where I do all of my searching from. And I will tell you that I know there's a whole lot of different choices here. I do everything. I don't think I've ever been in any of these because I do everything from this one right here, cross property search. Because with cross property search, you can pretty much access anything. Instead of doing a single family search, then having to come out of that search and going into a condo search or doing something else and back and forth and in and out. So I just work from here because it gives me all the different types and it gives me all the different kinds of searches that I needed that I can do over and over right from this same screen. So I do everything from here inside of the MLS. So the first thing I want to be certain that I show you is how to pull your own numbers. So
¿Ya está listo? Sí, está listo.
All right, they can be ready a little later, John. I muted you, it's okay. All right, where was I? So the first thing I want to show you, you know what? I'm going to change my mind a little bit. I'm going to start with the conversation for the market conditions that we talked about the other day. I'm going to start with month supply of inventory because that's actually a more relevant conversation to what you need right now. And then I'll show you your numbers towards the tail end. So month supply of inventory is a conversation that over the course of time of being a listing agent was something we never talked about to being really one of the only things that we talk about in terms of macro market conditions nowadays, because it gives you and the seller an opportunity and understanding and an opportunity to understand what the market is actually doing. So let me show you the math behind it. And we'll put some numbers on the board in a certain town. Somebody type a town in the chat box and we'll work in that town for a little bit. Okay, Norwalk. So we're going to choose Norwalk. And Alex, since you chose Norwalk, tell me, do you want to do Norwalk single family? Okay, so Norwalk single family. So let's do some month supply of inventory work on Norwalk single family. So let's just say that you have a listing opportunity, right, in Norwalk. And so you want to get your finger on the pulse of what's going on in Norwalk. So here's where we start. We're going to start with the property type, so single family. We're going to choose Norwalk as the town and city. So you're going to select Fairfield County, which will give you all the towns in Fairfield County. We're then going to go up to Norwalk. And then you're going to click on closed because the focus of month supply of inventory are two numbers. First, a closed number, which you'll then manipulate a little bit. And second, an active number based on what's currently on the market. So the closed number is going to be a look back for the last 90 days, right? So in closed, you're going to put 0 minus 90. The good news is in the MLS, you don't have to actually know the date and use specific dates. You can, however, it's just as easy to go 90 days back. So 0 minus 90 takes care of a look back from today back 90 days. And you're going to see at the bottom of the screen here, you see these matches? How many matches do we get? 244, right? So 244 closed units, single family, in the last 90 days. Now, month supply of inventory is a month by month look, right? So we have to now take that 90-day number and get it down to an average per month. So we're going to take that 244 and we're going to divide it by 3. If we're just going to take a 90-day look and then divide it by 3, why wouldn't we just do 0 minus 30? Anybody have a thought on that?
That's not an average. That's just how much was in the last 30 days.
Yeah, exactly right, Anna, right? That's not enough information. It's too short a sample size for you to get accurate data because the last 30 days may be very different than the 30 days and the 30 days before that, right? And so you want to take a look back to get trending data at 90 days and then divide to get that average. So 244 divided by 3 months to make it a 30-day number is going to be 81, right? So 81 a month is what has been selling in Norwalk. Is everybody clear on what I've done so far? That's step number 1. It's to pull 90 days worth of closed units and then divide by 3. So you get that. Ultimately, what you just calculated is the rate of absorption or absorption rate for single family housing in Norwalk in the last 90 days. Properties that are on the market have been absorbed by the market at a rate of 81 per month. Make sense?
Hey, Rick, quick question.
Yes.
So absorption rate, by absorbed, it just mean how many houses close?
So no, the absorption rate is the number that have been absorbed by the market per month, right? So the number that closed, we use closed data to determine that. So the answer is yes and no, right? It depends on exactly what you're asking. Does 81 represent closed units? Yes. 81 closed units every single month. Is that what you're asking me?
I guess I guess.
Okay, well then good. Then I had an
Yeah.
answer. Woohoo. So 81 closed units every single month. All right, let's keep moving and if you have additional questions as we go through the next two steps to give you month supply of inventory, we'll circle back if we need to. So once you figure out the absorption rate, which is again, how many units have closed in that city or town with a particular property type, right? We chose single family in the last 90 days, 244, divide by 3 to get a monthly average of 81. Now you're going to click off of closed and click on active. Right, and so when you see you have that active number down at the bottom, that says what? 96. So there are 96 units that are currently available for buyers to purchase. Now here's what's fun. In order to get a month's supply of inventory number, you take that active number of 96 and you divide it by the absorption rate that you calculated from the closed units from the last 90 days. And so that number, that absorption rate number that we had before was 81, remember? So we take 96 and divide it by 81, because if there's 96 on the market, we're trying to determine how many months will it take without anything new coming on the market to absorb all of that inventory. And if Norwalk has seen on average for the past 90 days, 81 units close every single month, we're looking at 96 divided by 81 is if you round up 1.2 months, right? 1.2 months. So if nothing else came on the market in 1.2 months, that inventory would be absorbed by the market. Now let's talk about, let's stop there a second. I'm going to talk to you about what that says and what that means about the market. Then I'll go backwards and ask if you have any questions about doing the math. Let's paint let's paint a picture of what month supply of inventory actually means. There are 3 different categories, and that's 0 to 4 months, 5 to 6 months, and then over 6. 3 categories, 0 to 4 months, 5 to 6 months, and then over 6 months. Which of those do you think describes a seller's market?
0 to 4 months.
So 0 to 4 months is 100% right. That is what is determined as a seller's market in terms of month supply of inventory. Now you can see what we just calculated in Norwalk at 1.2 months supply. That's an extreme seller's market. That market is moving like crazy fast with a number like 1. For those of you who are doing business in Norwalk, does that accurately describe what you're seeing in Norwalk single family housing? Right? The answer is absolutely yes. It's why buyers are throwing numbers out that are crazy. It's why people are struggling to get to properties to show them before there's 17 offers on them, right? And Norwalk is one of those towns and cities that is still experiencing that with single family housing. And these numbers tell you that. Interestingly enough, about 4 to 6 months ago, probably 6 months ago or so, the Norwalk number was slightly less than 1. So the market has started to stabilize a little bit, but we're only up to 1.2 months supply of inventory. And you have a long way to go to get to even a even a slower paced seller's market at those 3 or 4 month supply numbers. So if 0 to 4 is a seller's market, what do you think over 6 is?
Buyer's market.
A buyer's market, 100%, right? A buyer's market, which means at least theoretically, buyers have more power, right? Because there's more inventory and more choice for them. In a seller's market, there's less choice for buyers, so therefore the sellers tend to have more power. And so what's that middle category, that 5 to 6 months?
Neutral.
So I love that word neutral. I would prefer because it's as neutral as it gets. I prefer the term transitional, right? Because markets are always moving. And even though John, neutral is an excellent description of what that could look like at any day that you look at it, when you look at it the next day, it's moved someplace, right? So I like the term transitional market only because we're always moving from one to another. And depending on the day you look at it, it may be swinging more towards the buyer's side or swinging back towards the seller's side, all depending. And in that 5 to 6 month period of time, you have that transitional neutral style market where nobody really seems to be in control, right? Any questions on the 3 categories?
I had a quick question.
Yes.
For the number of closed properties with the average is the 90 days to find the absorption rate for 1 month. But for the actives, we just took the actives that were active instead of going back 90 days. Why is that?
Well, because what you want to be certain you do, going back 90 days, you end up not having actives, right? The way the MLS categorizes listings is either active
Or
or
not?
under contract
Oh.
or closed, right? So if you went back 90 days for actives, you anything that was active 90 days ago is either still active, so you don't have to go back 90 days, or it's now under contract or closed, right?
Oh,
'Cause-
okay.
So the status changed, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. Yes, I mean,
I had a question on the math. When you did the math for the closed dates, it was 240 something. How did you get 81?
so when we pulled, that's a great question. I'll go back and do it again so you can see it on the screen. So closed in Norwalk, single family, 0 minus 90, so that's the last 90 days, is that 244 that you see at the bottom left. Right, because that's for 90 days, we want to determine what the monthly absorption is. So 90 days represents 3 months. So we divided the 244 by 3 and got 81 per month. Does that
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And then once we determined that, we went and we looked at the actives, which were 96, as you can see in the bottom left, and then divided the 96 by the 81 to get 1.2 months supply of inventory, which again, all that's really saying is it
All
gives.
right, hey, can I call you right back? I have a new Zoom.
Herm, you got a live mic, Herm. Hold
Oh,
on.
sorry.
Okay. Okay, let me get back to my thing here. Where was I? There we go. All righty. So the 96 divided by the 81 gives you 1.2, which ultimately the whole reason for doing the math is to seed a discussion that says, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, based on the month supply of inventory and this chart that shows 0 to 4 is sellers, 5 to 6 transitional, above 6 buyers, I'm curious, what does the market appear to, what is the momentum of the market currently saying it favors? Well, it favors sellers, the seller's market. Yep, agreed. right? That's really all we're looking to do. We're looking to just help people understand the velocity or the momentum in the marketplace. Things are either moving quickly or they're moving slowly or they're someplace in between. And that's the whole idea of doing this kind of math. Now, I'm going to do it a couple of additional times because sorry, I keep losing my screen. There we go. If you remember the chart that we were working from that night in Ignite, it was a town broken into price categories, right? And so it may be fun to take Norwalk and break it into some price categories. So the first one we'll do is, I don't know, anything less than $500,000, right? So less than $500,000, we're going to do the same exact math where we're going to click on closed, do 0 minus 90. That gives us 73 closed units from the last 3 months. 73 divided by 3 to get a per month number is 24. And then when you click off of closed and on to active, you've got 27 units active. So 27 divided by 24, again, you're at 1.1 month supply of inventory. So again, that segment moving very, very swiftly. Maybe the next piece you want to do is, oh, I don't know, 500 to 750. I'm just going to make these up, right? Depending on the town, you'll do different price categories, right? If you were working in a town with a much lower price point, you may do 0 to 300, 3 to 5, 5 to 7, 7 to 9, and then, 9 and over. If you have if you're working in a town like Westport, right, you may want to do 800 or 1 million and below, all as the first category, and then start breaking it down to, $1 million to $1.4 million, $1.4 million to $1.8 million, 1.8 to 2.2, that kind of thing, right? So know the town that you're working in, right? 0 to 500 in Westport, there is 0, right? 500 to 750, you might get a couple of condos, right? So you have to understand that when you're breaking things down by price category, you need to just understand the town a little bit and segment it so that it makes sense. And I'm not saying that what I'm doing right now is the best segmentation for Norwalk, right? And yet it's close enough for example purposes. So say 500 to 750 now in Norwalk single family. If you go back down and click on closed, 0 minus 90 days, you've got 98, right? So 98 units have closed in the last 90 days. You divide that by 3, you get 33 when you round. And then if you click off of that and click on active at the bottom left, you see that there are 32 current properties on the market. So 32 divided by 33 gives you a little less than 1, right? So what you automatically know now is the range of 500 to 750 is moving faster than the range of 500 and below, right? It's not moving massively faster, but it is moving faster, right? Because you're at 0.9 or some 0.95 or something like that. So less than 1 month supply of inventory in that price category. And so now just for fun, we'll do 750 to 1 million. Closed, 37. 37 divided by 3 is 12, right? So you've got 12 units every single month. The absorption rate for single family housing in the 750 to 1 million range in Norwalk for the past 3 months has been 12 units per month. Click off of closed and on to active. You've got 19 active. So 19 divided by 12 is 1.6. So what do you notice now about the higher price points in Norwalk?
They're moving a little slower.
Moving a little slower, right? So 1.6 is different than 0.95 in terms of month supply of inventory. However, please understand that 1.6 is still a rapidly moving seller's market, right? You haven't even crested, you're barely out of 1.5 months. You're not quite to 2, never mind 3 or almost 4 month supply. So you're still in a rapidly moving seller's market, even though the numbers are a little bit slower. And so just for fun, we're going to do 1 million plus, just to kind of give you the whole kit and caboodle here. So you've got 39 properties that have closed 1 million plus in Norwalk in the last 90 days. 39 divided by 3 is 13, right? So that absorption rate for $1 million plus in Norwalk is 13 per month. You'll click off of closed and on to active. There are 18 active. 18 divided by 13 is 1.4. So what's interesting is over $1 million in Norwalk, at least for the last 3 months, is actually moving a little bit faster than the 750 to 1 million range. Right? So it doesn't always show up that the higher the price points, the longer period of time on the market. That's not always true. It is often true that the higher you go, the slower the market is, because 1.4 is still slower than 750 and below, which averages more like 1, right? From the math we did. But you starting to see how these numbers are used. It's all about just velocity, the pace of the market, the momentum in the market. And you're grounding it with some numbers to help people see the differences. You're converting how fast people buy into something that you can put on a piece of paper and ask some questions around. Now, why is this useful? Well, in a scenario where somebody might have a property that's worth around $1 million, and the question becomes, okay, so if it's around $1 million, is it better to put it on for $995 or $1.05 million? Right, based on the math we just did in those categories, what do we know about homes that are?
It'll be better to place it higher because the homes over $1 million sell slightly faster.
Right, so that could be, right? It might tell you that you have the opportunity to push it a little bit. If those numbers, if the numbers were reversed, right, and the 750 to 1 million was moving a little faster than the over 1 million, you may be able to look and say, okay, well, in this scenario, once we pop over $1 million, statistically, it will take longer, and the longer it takes for you to find a buyer, typically the less money you receive. So what's the best strategy for your bottom line in that scenario, right? It may be to price it just under $1 million, so you're in that category that's moving a little bit faster. Again, it's just supposed to be a macro look at the velocity or pace of the market. Any questions about what it is we're talking about and how we're pulling the numbers? Going once, going twice. I can't see the chat, so if you're putting things in the chat, I haven't.
So Rick,
Yes.
the longer it takes to find a buyer, the less money you will receive. That is a basic premise and it's a given, but I'm not sure why.
So great question, and I'll give you a couple of thoughts on that. Statistically, if you're looking to, so let's just talk about how we prove that, right? So that's not just something we pull out of thin air, right? So if you look at properties that have, you know what, probably the best way to prove that or statistically, Alex, is to hold that thought and I'll flip over into Brokermetrics and show you that other chart, because that's the easiest place to pull it.
No problem.
Conceptually, here's the answer to that. When you come on the market as new at a price point that attracts people and is more of a worry price, meaning people who come to see your house, right? There's pent up demand. So when something new hits, everybody who's waiting to buy a house pounces on that new property. So you have more buyer activity in that first week to 2 weeks than you will after that week to 2 weeks evaporates. Because after that first initial pounce, you're waiting just for new buyers to come into the market, and now you don't have that pent up demand. And so the idea is the pent up demand, if the pent up demand comes to see your house and there's a worry number around it, meaning that they're worried that if they don't make a move quickly, someone else will. If that exists, you have people throwing money and there's multiple offers. If it doesn't exist, everybody says, it's a good house, but I don't know that I have to jump on it immediately because I don't, it's not a worry price, right? It's positioned a little high, maybe it'll come down. I don't love it that much. Let's just see what else might be out there. Right? And so everyone kind of steps away and now it's just sitting, again, waiting for just the onesie twosies to come into the market. And because it's now the onesie twosies, what the onesie twosies know is that they don't have to fight quite as hard for the house. So the numbers just continually, theoretically, go down. Does that help explain that? Okay. And again, the other part of that answer, I'm going to flip over into Brokermetrics for, because I think the chart that I can pull says more than I could say in words. So let's do that. Let's just jump over just for giggles. So for those of you, Alex, can you see my home screen now? Or are you still seeing the MLS? Okay, hold on. I have to stop the share and reshare it. Hold on. Huh. All right, you know what? Let me pull Brokermetrics up for you and then I'll reshare. Just give me half a second. If you remember Brokermetrics